Hey there, Maxon fam! How's it going for today? Back here again at the podcast to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans. And, well, unfortunately, we have to at least talk about the declining ratings. Now, obviously, there are a few external factors to the declining ratings that, have to be taken into account. Obviously, there are other things, like, I don't know what other sports are on at the same time, effectively, or what's going on, whether it's the NFL or whatever. I'm not in the US, guys, okay, so everyone keeps forgetting that I'm not in the US, and even if I was in the US, I wouldn't be following any of these other sports, because I do not give a rat's rectum about the sports that are in my own country, let alone whatever else. So, same with, like, reality TV or anything like that. But I believe that there is some stuff going on at this time and whatnot, and so, yeah, TNA has taken a bit of a nosedive because there's other more in-demand things on. Okay, cool. Well, how do you make TNA more in demand? Or whatever. That's really hard, especially when you're competing with, these other things that everybody wants to watch. You've got to make your product the most exciting, the most interesting, the most cannot miss. And sometimes they are doing some of that stuff. And I do think, like, saying, hey, we're going to take some more of these things that we were going to do on pay-per-view, or we're just going to do them on TV to tell the story, is cool. That is great. But sometimes it does feel like, well, realistically, some of this should have been saved, or it should be like, let's not do this, let's not do that, let's hold off, hold slow down, slow way, like, and I know some people will complain to say, oh, well, nothing happens, but especially with some things, you need to slow way down with, because you're like, here you have this match coming up with the Righteous versus the Hardys. What's that going to do? Absolutely nothing, because you're not going to pay it off. This isn't going to be the end of the feud. So why are they having this upcoming match? And what does if the Hardys win or the Righteous win, what does that mean? That's what I mean. It's like, it's just a match that's filling time and taking time away from something else that you could be doing. You know what I mean? You could keep doing these promos and keep doing these things. And yes, they take time, but they take like a minute. And this match is going to take at least 5 to 10 minutes. At least. So again, let's wait on it. Do we really need it? And I don't think we do. Maybe I don't know. But again, like, wait to Slammiversary or wait to Lockdown. That's when you're trying to pay this thing off. Or Bound for Glory, you're trying to pay it off around that time. You're not trying to pay it off now. So you got more than a month to wait before this thing, or even longer, depending, before this thing is paid off. So again, yes, you've got to do things with them. You have to keep the story moving or whatever. But what does this match achieve? You know what I mean? Because again, people will know, oh, this isn't the end, and maybe that'll get people to tune in at the point that it's like, oh, this feels like this is the end, or this is the big blow off or whatever else and whatnot, and the Hardys are going to go one way and the Righteous are going to go another way or whatever else it is. Maybe that's at Slammiversary or Bound for Glory or Lockdown or whatever. But it's definitely at one of those shows, that. At least there is that, where it's like, oh, okay, like, the big thing, is going to be then, to an extent. So you are also disenfranchised from saying, hey, well, why am I tuning into this? You know what I mean? Like, what's this for? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and like I said before, when I saw Lang Lee win the title there the other week, I was like, wait, what? I was so confused, because it was like thinking, and like again, like, I was thinking like there's nothing gonna happen until like Slamversary or Bound for Glory or maybe Lockdown maybe or whatever. But it does prove sometimes that like it is somewhat unpredictable and you don't know what's happening to an extent. But now it's obvious, like this is gonna happen or something's gonna happen at Slamversary now or Bound for Glory or Lockdown or whatever. Um, so yeah, like you're not gonna go away from that. You're gonna obviously gonna go back to, okay, this is where we're going and this is what we were doing or whatever. So you've got to be treating all these things the same way. Like now it's like, before it was like, and that's maybe again why they did this of like doing this title change this way was like, okay, we've got to show people that not like anything can happen, but sort of anything can happen. A title can change, things can change, and whatnot. So you have to tune in, and that's good. That's what you're trying to do. I understand that, but again, like some things, like again, like there's so many things that need more time, need more energy, need more effort, and whatnot. And there's so many things that I think sometimes they get too much time and like again, this week it's like, wow, like instead of having this thing this week, this week it's like, okay, how about you move it to 2 or 3 weeks from now or another, having one segment on one show and then having another segment on the same show that's about the same thing. It's like, yes, you can be saying, hey, this is it in episode story sort of thing that's going to pay off at the end. That's different or whatever. But if you're saying, hey, here's the Hardys and here's the Righteous. Okay, cool. Well, now I've seen what they're doing between the Hardys and the Righteous or whatever. So now I pretty much don't really need to see anything more from them for the most part this week. I know what they're doing this week. That's it. I kind of want to see more, but I can tune in next week to see more of what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, okay, here's this segment between the Hardys and the Righteous. Okay, here's a match or whatever. Or here's another promo, or here's something else, or whatever else it is. And then we go back to see the Hardys and the Righteous again. And then there's another match or a promo or whatever else it is and whatnot. And then you go back to see the Hardys and the Righteous. That's what I mean. You're not elongating this. You're telling all this story too quickly. You should be saying, slow down. These things that are happening, they should be, over the next 6 months, or whatever else it is. So that again, people get enough of seeing the Hardys, get to be like, yes, I got to see the Hardys, or they did something, or they moved the story along, or whatever else it is. And it is hard to do that when you're like got this 6-month story or whatever else is to do. But again, like the thing is, you cannot just be like, here's the same sort of thing again, or here's the same story beats again and again and again. And yet, what did that lead to? Realistically, you've got to do it every other day of the week or whatever. You know what I mean? Not every other day, but every other time that you come on TV. Okay, here's a small segment for Mike Santana. Here's a small segment. Well, I say for Mike Santana, but for the World Championship. For each person that's in the World Championship division, at least like every other week, they should be on TV. Same sort of thing. Like, okay, here's something for AJ Francis. Here's something for this person. Here's something for and that's what they should be doing for this upcoming Battle Royal that's going to happen. They should be showcasing some of these guys that are going to be in that Battle Royal and saying, why should we care, or why should we like be invested or whatever, or hey, here's them winning a match. Maybe they'll be the next contender. Here's them winning this. Here's this other person winning. Here's that other person winning. Here's that other person losing. Here's their story. Like, can they get back in it? Will they make, their dreams come true? Will they come up against all odds? Whatever else it is, that sort of thing. You've got to be showcasing every single one of these people that are going to be in that, or at least like your major players, because at least then people are going to be like, oh, okay, they're starting to push some of these people. It's like, you haven't done anything with anyone you haven't got any real stories of anyone that's in this upcoming match. So, like, when somebody wins it, people are just going to shrug their shoulders and go, well, why should we care? Because you haven't been doing anything, basically, with anyone and showcasing, hey, here they win, here they lose, or here's their story, or what. I think maybe AJ's the only one that's kind of been on TV of late, but, like, he hasn't done enough where it's like, been talking about the championship. He's just been saying, oh, Casey Navarro, Casey this, or Nick Nemeth that, or whatever. He hasn't been saying, hey, I wrestled Santana a few months back. You know what? I can whip his ass, or whatever. I can be the next world champion, so I'll be in the Battle Royal as well. And I can whip Casey Navarro too, or whatever. Like, pulling double duty. He should be saying things like that to say, hey, I'm coming for that title. Everyone should be doing the same thing. I'm coming for that title. This is why. This is, da-da-da-da. Whatever it is. Doesn't matter whether you're heel or babyface. But there's, like I said, like that law of diminishing returns sort of thing. Hey, whoa, we've seen way too much of this, thing. And it's like not going to pay off for weeks. And then it's like, when you get to the next week, it's like, oh shit, we've burned all the content that we've created for this thing. Oh shit, well now we've got to create way more content to fill in the gaps and to get there, because it's still like months away from concluding. And then you're gonna like turn around and go, oh, let's burn all the content again on these guys. What? Like that's what I mean. It's like, You can't burn all your time and whatnot on those guys. And they haven't done too much of that. But they haven't really there's just not enough. And like maybe it's the 2 hours, I don't know. But again, like I said before, with the international title division, it's just superfluous. It's so superfluous. It's like, well, what are we doing with this? I like Mustafa Ali. I really like what he's doing. And I think that he deserves a championship and he deserves something to work with. But again, so does Hotch. He had a great babyface run there for a little while, and I was saying before, like, he should, even if he's not going to be in that world title picture, which for a while, which he's not, he should either be in the X Division title picture, or he should be, like, being the next big contender for the international title. Mustafa Ali should be berating him again, and all of this stuff, and then he should finally have enough and snap and walk out of Order 4, and then bloody challenge Mustafa Ali after a few weeks or maybe even a couple of months of like back and forth and things like that, and then win the title maybe. And then you've built him up into another guy that you can rely upon, and he's so talented he could do this. And again, like, this is what I mean. It's like, you've got to use your young guys while you've got them. You can't, like, same with Nick Nemeth and Mustafa Ali. WWE didn't use them while they had them. They didn't use them to their fullest extent. And they never got over to the point of being major superstars, which, fucking sucks. Maybe they would never be the level of John Cena or The Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin or whatever else. Maybe they could, maybe not, or whatever, but that's not the point. They could have been more major superstars and more important, and they could have helped build some other different people along that route, So if you had have built them up into a more proper role, into a more proper main event level role, you could have said, okay, cool, now we have these guys that are in that position, and now we can bring up somebody else and whatnot that's going to come along and is going to be the next person that is, going to help bring somebody else along. That's how wrestling has worked and will work forever. You have your current crop of guys who are always on the verge of becoming passé, pretty much. Because the audience has like a limited attention span for everyone and for everything to an extent. You know, you can still be here and still be important, but you can't always hog the same position. You can't always, like being the champion mainly, I would say, or being the guy mainly. Like if you're the guy for a year, okay, cool, great. Then if you come back in a year or two or whatever, cool, great. Or whatever, even if you come back in the same year, like later on, like 6 months, 8 months later, whatever else it is, cool, great. This is your era, you're part of this era, that's fine. And I always say, hey, you've got to keep these guys that are hot right now, sort of thing. But you've also got to be building for the future. You can't be saying, okay, we're just, like I said, you can't rely on just these guys that we've got. And I said that, like, the Hardys are a great, like, nostalgia act. No matter what I think of them in the ring right now or whatever, everyone loves them, you know? Everyone likes the Hardys. Everyone has that nostalgia pop for them. But again, you cannot rely upon them because, again, they can't be around forever. They will go to AEW. They will go to WWE. They will retire eventually. They will die eventually. You know, all of these things. You've got to say, who in our tag team division is going to replace the Hardys? You know, who is going to be the next super duper dream team that everybody is going to get behind? Who's going to be the next Motor City Machine Guns? Who is going to be the next, you know, Beer Money? Who's going to be the next America's Most Wanted? Who's going to be the next Young Bucks? Whatever else it is. We've got to say, okay, let's find that new young tag team or new whatever, new single star. Again, who's going to be the next Mike Santana? Who's going to be the next AJ Styles? I mean, like, you might say, like, Leon Slater is kind of the new AJ Styles, kind of. And he certainly is forming into a sort of very similar role as a lot of past wrestlers who you could say, hey, they were there for a long time, they were being built up for a long time, and then they started getting more and more into that more upper card, and eventually they got there. So, yeah, I would love to obviously see that, and I think everyone in TNA wants to see that, but it does beg that question of, like, obviously, as always, when and where and how and why and all of that stuff. It's not just a formula, but it is one of those things that sometimes, like, as I said, sometimes you've got great plans, but sometimes those plans need to be changed. You need to realize, why are the fans tuning in? Why are the fans tuning out? You know what I mean? They were tuning in huge numbers like a few weeks back. And yes, like I said, there's the football or there's whatever else is going on at this time as well for people to tune into. So there you've got competition. Okay, but then you've got to say, okay, well, we've got to present our show in the best way possible so that people will feel at least torn or at least be like channel surfing to say, okay, you know, let's, you know, see what TNA is up to, you know, because I still want to see what they're up to. So you need to create that sense of, I must watch, I must see what's happening. You can't do that when you just have like, you know, and yes, like the earlier matches and whatever else it is will need to be shorter. You can't just have every match be, you know, 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes, half an hour long or whatever. but again, saying, hey, this is what it is. It is what it is. I know somewhere at some point they said something about that with, I think it was Eric Young or somebody saying, hey, you know, you've got to keep to your match times and things like that. And if you can't do it, you know, you're going to be out on your ear because you need to keep your timings tight and keep things rolling. And the more time you take away from from not just the main event, but from somebody else is an issue. But again, like when it's like you need more than 3 or 4 matches or whatever, but there's so like there has to be talking and there has to be promos and there has to be stuff, but it has to come off very quickly. Again, you can't have too much of that. You need matches, but you can't have too many matches and you can't have them for too long either. So it's like this push and pull of you need you need story, but you need matches. You need matches, but you need story, like, and especially like the main event. Like the main event needs to be the thing that people are going to tune into for the night. There needs to be other stuff on the show, absolutely. But again, like, you can't just be like, the main event's the only thing that's worth watching because it's the only match that gets more than like 10 minutes, And not to say that a match that's under 5 or 10 minutes or whatever else can't be good, but like, again, that's the problem of some of these things and whatnot. And again, like, yeah, if a match is structured well by the wrestlers and by the I don't know, what do you want to call it, the choreography team or whatever, that sort of thing, then it is like, yes, that was a good match and it was only like 8, 9, 10 minutes or whatever else it was, but it was really good because, they actually had something going on in it and they actually had, a reason, the fans had a reason to get up out of their seats and actually pay attention to what was going on. And again, like the taping aspect of these things just really hurts the show. I've said that before, where if you can go up and look up the results, hey, well, I know the results, so why am I tuning in? I can see what happened during the whole friggin' show, so why am I tuning in? Again, once a month, having a live TV is not that much, honestly. I said that before when they, like, I don't know whether I actually said that before, but I should have said it before. But saying, hey, we're going to have one live TV every month isn't a lot. And it really is like showcasing the amount of difference between a more live presented show to a more taped environment style show. You need to have this show live. So, and even if people are going over time or whatever else it is, well, that's not good. But again, that can happen more so with live TV. But if it's a good segment sometimes, well, or a good match or sometimes, or whatever else it is, well, sometimes it deserves to go over time. You know what I mean? So again, that it is what it is. So again, like, you need to realize, okay, well, maybe we should really talk to the network and say, can we go to 2.5 hours? Or can we go to 3 hours? Or whatever else it is. I think 2.5 hours might be better. But because I don't know, but TNA seems to have a better mix of a lot of stuff than what WWE has had. They've had a lot of stuff going on, and I've just been criticizing like they haven't had enough going on, but they've got so many different things that they could be doing, but it's just like they don't seem to have the time for it. So it's like, if you had an extra half an hour or an extra hour to the show, well, maybe they'd have time for it. And that's where, again, like I say, Explosion needs to come into this and say, okay, let's be the more catch-all for all of this other stuff that we just didn't have the time for. But again, like, if you have that on your weekly show where it's like, here's this random 5-minute jobber match, or whatever else it is, sub 5-minute jobber match. Sometimes, yes, that needs to be on TV to some extent, but realistically, it doesn't. You should say, okay, let's move that to Explosion because no one really needs to see that on the main show. You can show highlights of it, again, or whatever else it is, that sort of thing, and then have the person have a promo or something like that, or whatnot, or come and attack somebody, or whatever else it is, something like that, those sorts of things. But again, it does feel like, hey, we need to have more of like an organic connection between the wrestlers and the fans. You know what I mean? It can't be like WWE where it's like very very scripted. You breathe here, you breathe there. You don't breathe here, but you breathe over here. You point to the crowd over there, you point to the crowd over here. No, it should be about feeling and emotion and connection. It shouldn't be about this is your script, follow it to the last letter. And, like, not that they do that, but again, like, that shouldn't ever become, like, what it's about. It shouldn't just be about, whoever telling you this is how it should be done. It should be about the feeling and trying to go, okay, all right. Like, I would trust, like, guys like Eddie Edwards and guys like that who are, like, in the ring and saying, hey, this is how it is, or whatever. I would trust guys more so like Tommy Dreamer and guys like that who are or have been in the ring, because at least they're like, have that perspective of, yeah, we've been in the ring talent, we've done that. And same with Callahan and other people, we've done that. But again, like, you need to have more. You cannot just have, yeah, and people need to see where these things are going to an extent. You know what I mean? You can't just have something happen like the Indy Hartwell and Santino thing where they attack Stax and Ariana in the change rooms or whatever, and then bring Ariana back and Santino back or whatever, and then not really do anything about the fact that they attacked Stax and Ariana in the changing rooms or whatever. You need to be like, and the same thing with like Ariana attacking Indy. It's like, well, you need to follow up on that. You cannot leave these things hanging and forget about them, or go, oh, well, no, we're not doing that anymore, or whatever. And maybe that's because Indy might be leaving. I don't know. There's a lot of discussion about that right now. But like, again, like, I would ask the question there as well, like, before I move on, is like, why would she go to WWE? Straight up. Like, she's been to WWE, and I even talked about this somewhere, that she's had that experience, right? She's already, and same with Cora Jade. A bunch of other people have been to WWE. What's her name? I'm about to say Elena Black, but that's Cora Jade, whatever. Whatever her name is, Jakara Jackson. I can't think of her name right now, but she was in WWE fairly recently too. So again, like, you've got all, and just Dexter Lumis, one of your people that just got released, who was just there, and you've had a long history with. Like, again, okay, what's his reaction? And I get that it's not all bad or whatever else it is, but again, why would you go there when they're going to lowball you an offer and they're going to tell you exactly how to do it, and then they're going to complain about you not getting over, but then complain when you do get over because you started doing things more organically or whatever else it was. They'll tell you, no, you can't do that, you can't go and you can't do this, you can't do that. Like they said with Jordan Grace and whatnot, they went over, well, I don't know whether they went over time, but they went outside of what their match was meant to be, I think, or whatever else it was. Even though they are meant to be controlling and approving of everything, it's like, yeah, but still, like, come on, let them fight, let them be unique, let them be something else. Don't net them into just being, you are just two women that we have, and we want you to have a middle of the road match. Nothing spectacular, just go out there and have an okay match. Go. And it's 10-15 minutes, whatever. Go. Not go out there and actually, have a really good match. No, don't do that. You can't go out there and have really good matches or have really good performances. Oh, you're getting too over. No, don't do that. We're not going to push you anymore. We're not going to give you anything anymore. And then we're going to blame you for the fact that, you're not getting over. What? At least there isn't that there in some regards, but there is some of that where it does feel like sometimes we're like, I don't know, we're just like, it doesn't seem like we're willing or able or something to pull the trigger sometimes. And I don't know why that is. And again, it is like, well, we want to tell this other story or whatever else it is. But and again, you can't make everyone happy. But the thing is that you need to make more people happy in being in this than not being in this. It's like, well, why are we not pulling the trigger on this? Why aren't we pulling the trigger on that? Or why aren't we at least giving that person something to work with? They're just doing stuff and they're just being here. That isn't, giving them anything to work with. But that is why people aren't really, enthused to tune in, because it's like, in a sense, at least, for the most part, is that there's just not enough. There's just not enough, buzz. There's just not enough, there's, again, Mike Santana's great. Leon Slater's great. But where's their competition? That's what I mean. That's why I was saying, Mustafa Ali would be better off challenging someone like Mike Santana or something like that. Because, again, hey, not only was that a really good feud before, which it can be again, it's like, well, who else is Mike Santana going to face? You haven't been building anyone up. You need to be building Ali up. And you kind of were there for a little while. And it was like, yeah, here he is. But, why is he not going for that? Why be in this position? Why just relegate him to being another B-plus player again? He was already, relegated to being that B-plus player for so long that it's like, we need to take advantage of him as quickly as possible. And it is like, well, you might say, well, that is true, but, realistically, we can't rely on him because he's not going to be here forever or whatever. At least he's, way more active and physically capable of being there longer than some people are. And he's been there for a while, and he's done some good things, but again, what has that really led to? You know what I mean? So it's just a disillusionment. People are becoming disillusioned with the fact that you're not pulling the trigger enough with people, or just creating these other divisions and creating these other things for people to get wrapped up in, just to be like, here's your B-plus prize or whatever, because we don't know what else to do with you, in a sense. And I get that it's like, oh yes, but we're trying to build them. But, there are people that are there that could be being built, but it's like, well, really, Ali doesn't need that. And maybe, again, you might be saying, well, this isn't for Ali. Well, then why is he in that position to build other people? You know what I mean? I just said, before, you could build Hotch with him. But, I said, Hotch probably isn't really ready for that world title picture. So, but still, you could have Hotch do that role. Or be in the X Division. Let him be the X Division guy for a while. And let Ali be the international champion. And let them tag together or something. Let them work together or something. Let's have more of that. Or let's have more of Tasha Steelz feuding with people. She doesn't get enough stuff to do all the time. And again, if you're giving something to somebody, it is like, well, we're having to balance and whatever else, whoever else isn't going to get used or what not. And again, if you're going to break up some of these tag teams or whatever to try to make some of the other people like more single stars or whatever. It is like, yeah, now we've created even more heels on our roster that's already like got a lot of heels on it, you know, but we have created a villain for them to kind of go up against for a while, and people a reason to sort of tune in. People need a reason to tune in, not just we're here, you know. Like I said, I was talking about this battle royal thing that's coming up, and maybe it was only announced last week, but then it's like it's going to happen this week or whatever, this upcoming week at least. Okay, great, but like again, and maybe like I hope that that's maybe the main event, but like I can't remember. Casey and AJ are on that match, and Leon versus Cedric are on that card, I think. 2 out of 3 falls for both of those matches are going to be big time matches because that's the Sacramento street fight. Maybe that's actually going to be taped and be later. I don't know, but I think that was on the same show at least, I think. And there's a bunch of other little things that are going on there too. But again, like if you're going to have that show and you're not going to have throughout the night interviewing some of the people that are going to be in that battle royal and saying, do you think you're going to be able to win it tonight? You know, and some people are like, again, doing their heel stuff of like, I'm the biggest, baddest, and this and that. And this is how I'm gonna win, or what, you know, or here's the plucky, you know, babyface coming along saying, hey, I've had my ups and downs, but maybe tonight's the night, you know, or whatever. I've got as much chance as anybody else, you know, or whatever. That sort of stuff. You've got to have more of those. This is why people should care. And you should have, and again, that's why, again, maybe you should hold off on this for a little while and have a week or two of like matches or things and stories and things like that, where it's like, this is who's going to be in this upcoming battle royal, and this, you know, this is why it matters to them, and this is what that loss did to them, and they're feeling down and whatnot, but they're feeling like, oh man, maybe I could still get there. You know, I've got another chance in this battle royal, you know, and maybe if I win the world title, they'll be the number one contender because they would have said, hey, I beat you a few weeks ago, but hey, now, I got the belt now, so now it's worth more to me, and I will fight harder in that match, or whatever, you know, that sort of thing. You've got to have more of that where it's like, especially with this thing coming up again. Why am I tuning in? Just because there's a battle royal and there's going to be a number one contender? Cool, that's great. But why should I care about anyone that's in this match unless you're going to show me this is why you should care about these people? This is why their story matters. This is who's, you know, building momentum. This is who's doing this. This is who's doing that. This is, you know, who's on the low, who's on the high. Who's going this way, who's going that way. And of course, again, like Mike Santana is there as the champion right now. So obviously, like 99.99999%, you're going to have a heel win this thing. And if you're going to have a heel win this thing, like, and then go on to, you know, challenge Mike Santana, when is that? Is that going to be at Slammiversary? Because unless it's going to be at Slammiversary or something like that at a big show, and it's got the person who's won that thing is going to have this big story and this big reason why, again, that they should, you know, have this match between him and Santana or whatever else it is. People won't care because, again, you're just going to turn around and be in a couple of weeks or whatever it is and be like, here they challenge them on this random episode. That means nothing. Okay, cool. Santana wins. Okay, great. We're a couple of weeks away from Slammiversary. You couldn't have saved this to then or given that person an actual story to actually be like, you know, let's, and then, but now you've got to, you know, turn around and go, Oh yeah, Slammiversary's in a few weeks. I guess we better make a number one contender for that. Who's on our roster that we could, that we could give a number one contendership to? And how can we do that? You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy, man. And maybe, like, again, maybe there is something somewhere from WWE. Again, somebody is like, oh, hey, we'll give you this with Santana at Slammiversary. Okay, great, cool, amazing, sure. I bet you 99.99% like that they're not gonna do that because they haven't pulled their WWE haven't pulled their finger out with their own promotion, let alone TNA. The only time that they were really pulling their finger out was when they were thinking, oh, we might be able to buy TNA, or we might be able to, effectively buy most of the talent from TNA or whatever. Or we might just be able to send them off to TNA or send off all of our talent that we don't really give two rats rectums about and we don't really think have much, to offer. But yeah, we'll send them a few like more major stars here and there just to keep them happy, or just to try to draw the audience, or just to try to, grease the wheels and hopefully they'll sell or whatever. Or the talent will be like, oh yeah, let's do this. So, and again, it's the same thing. Like I said to somebody about like TNA jumping for the carrot. Like, it's the same thing with talent. You can't be just like, come on, talent, come on, with dangling the carrot and saying, you'll be the next person that we invest in. We swear we'll keep our promise this time, and we'll actually treat you special, and you'll actually be here, and you'll actually have a story, dangling that carrot for them to keep jumping through the hoops. And some people do have that. Some people have that, but they're the people that, again, do they really need it? Like, to an extent. But then again, it's like, yeah, but sometimes it's not just about them. Sometimes it's about, hey, well, we need something for the fans to tune into every single week, and people want to tune into the Hardys every single week, or whatever else it is. And hey, we've got this great story with them and the Righteous going on, and people are really starting to dig that, man. But the thing about that is, it's like, hey, fans are starting to notice, hey, you're not even, like, the Righteous aren't even really wrestling. Like, really at all. Like, they're not wrestling anyone else. And again, it's like I said before, if you're just in this title, or if you're just in the tag division just to fight the Hardys or whatever, then it's like, well, how does anyone else wrestle you, sort of thing? Like, and why would it matter, Because again, like, maybe you obviously can do it, but again, like, if you have these other things where it's like, oh man, here's Sinner and Saint, here's this other tag team, here's that other tag team, we need them to get over. We need to start pushing these, and maybe again, like, it's the old fucking adage sometimes, and that's sometimes why, like, the brand refreshes are good, because it's like, it kicks the promoters and whatnot, the writers and things up the butt to be like, okay, shit, well, now we actually need to push this person, or we need to push new talent, or whatever else it is. Because again, hey, well, there went all of our talent that we were building up and we actually had for a little while. And now, okay, now we've actually got to, build some new people and do some more work. And like, Zaya's been there for a long time, and I think, like, deservedly, she does deserve the title, absolutely, and whatnot. But like, it's such like a foregone conclusion to an extent with that it's like, I think the people are like, yeah, let's just get it over with, kind of thing. Like, to an extent, people are just like, yeah, sure, great, we know where this is going, and at a certain point, we don't really care when it happens because we know it's happening. You know what I mean? So it's like, just get there. Just let's get to that point and then start showing us, okay, well, who's going to be next? You know what I mean? Who's going to take this thing off of Zaya? You know what I mean? and how are they getting there or whatever. Same sort of thing. So just like the lack of compellingness of some of these things of being like, oh, well, we know this title's going to Zaya now, so the next power. And again, like sometimes like that is the thing of like the next few weeks or the next few months until she's challenging Lei or until they're having that match is like, well, it's predictable. She's obviously not going to lose it to anyone else because no one else has even got a story that makes any sense for anyone else to win it. I mean, you've got other wrestlers there that are, uh, decent and whatever else, and it is, but it is like, well, so what? Again, you might have Elena Black, you might have some of these other people that are there, but it's like, so what if they're not going to do anything? If they're not going to become, the number one contender for a while, or if they are, it's like, well, so what? It doesn't mean anything because they're going to lose. And then what are they going to do after that? They haven't got a story. They haven't got a feud. They did, like, Elena had a feud there for a little while, but now it's like, oh, okay, that's over. So now what's she doing? You know what I mean? She hasn't got a direction, that's what she needs. Like a lot of these people just need a direction. Okay, like, and if you have a direction, you need to stick to it. You can't just be like, oh, this happens this week, but next week we'll forget about it or whatever. Or maybe we'll forget about it. We'll see. But again, like that's the thing that you need to avoid. You need to avoid saying, "Hey, let's go do this. Let's go do that." Like, no, let's not do that. Let's keep the ball rolling on this thing. Like let's not forget about that. Let's get back to it. Let's keep it happening. And then once it's actually done, then move on or then try to move on. Maybe you can come back to it later, but like again, there is only so much that you can do sometimes when there is other things, but these are the holes that people will see. It's like, and people will say, oh, just enjoy it. I can't enjoy it if you don't give me something to enjoy, if you don't present it so that I can see, like, hey, you're actually giving like other people a chance to shine. If you're just letting the few handful of handpicked superstars get time on TV, then it's like, well, why should I care about these handpicked, already predetermined people? I want somebody else. You know what I mean? If you are, trying to diversify and showcase as many people as possible, then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Everyone seems like they're going somewhere. Everyone seems like they've got something, and it can be as simple as a 2-minute thing or a 5-minute thing or whatever else it is sometimes. And then you say, okay, cool, great. Again, right. Everyone feels like they're going somewhere and have a direction, even if like one person or another person feels like they're more like above it all. Again, like even if like some of these people aren't actually gonna get to that level because you refuse to put them in that place at a certain point or whatever else it is for whatever reason. The thing is, at least like if there is like the seemingly attempt that you're making of like, hey, we're gonna give them something at least to work with, some promo time, something, whatever else it is, and we'll get there with it. The same thing like with Jody Threaten with like Tessa Blanchard, like that happened there before. Like Tessa beat Jody, and now it's like you didn't really follow through on that. You didn't really say, hey, Tessa's now going to challenge for the title or whatever else it is, and you didn't really say, hey, Jody's doing this now or she's doing that now or whatever else it is. You just kind of forgot that they exist to some extent and said, oh, well, we have these other plans or what. And I get that you have other plans, but you need to keep them being like, hey, I'm still motivated and I'm still here and I still have a reason to do this, or whatever else it is. I want to deal with this. There's a reason that I'm doing this. It's not just, oh, I'm here, which it is, but like, you need to like in character reason at least be like, hey, this is why they're doing that. You always need that where it's like they explain, this is why I'm doing this. This is why it matters to me. Not just, oh, I'm just doing this because management told me to, and what that's obviously what it is. But like, like you need those in character things so people can feel like, oh, they have some level of connection to this thing. They need to make you believe. Why do I need to believe in this? Tell me why. Like show me why I need to believe in this. You know what I mean? You always need to be showing me, telling me, giving me the reasoning with the wrestlers to say, hey, this is why this matters, like, because otherwise, again, why are we here if we're not, if we don't have a real reason to be tuning in, to be caring, you know and again, at least there is that level of like, hey, let's make sure that this person has that motivation, has that reasoning, has that stuff going on, because otherwise it is very much like, well, they're just doing this because this is the storyline that's been pitched, or what have you, that is. So again, we've got to watch it through to the end to see what happens next, which is good in a way, because it is like, yeah, let's tune in next week, or let's tune in next month, or let's keep tabs on this, or let's keep tabs on that, because like, yeah, something is eventually going to happen with this, hopefully at least. But yeah, again, like if you're just like, stuff happens, then things, and stuff and things, it's like, well, yeah, sure, of course stuff and things happen, but everyone needs to feel like they have their own like thing going on, their own unique motivations and whatnot. They can never be like, just, yeah, we're doing stuff and we're doing what we're told, seemingly. They've got to be like, hey, this is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want. This is what, or at least like, again, saying, hey, well, this is why this matters to me, or whatever else it is, because otherwise it's just random noise that's there. It's not anything that people are actually tuning in to see and to actually care about, because again, like, you haven't put that together of saying, hey, this is why you should care, this is what they're fighting for, or whatever else it is. You're just saying, hey, there's this match coming, you better be there or be square or whatever, like, okay, that's great, but again, without the motivation to tune in, to really tune in, and without people feeling like, oh, I'm gonna get there, people are just gonna be like, well, you haven't done enough for me to feel like, oh yeah, this is gonna be something for this person, and or that person, or whatever else it is. Again, and that's where you need to build that level of trust with the fans, because the level of trust with the fans has diminished. The fans don't trust that you're gonna follow through enough with a lot of these things, and that's the thing. Once you start losing that, it takes a long time for it to be regained. Because again, yeah, people don't just you know don't just change things overnight. They only change things in sort of response, I suppose, to, hey, all right, now we're doing this. Okay, great. Keep doing that. Like, this actually excites us. This actually interests us. Now you're actually going somewhere. Now you're actually starting to have the ball rolling. Now you're actually starting to have, like, people start to tune in, finally. Like, you've made all this time to get there, and it's finally like weeks later that you're like, people are tuning in. Okay, great. What are they tuning into? Oh, this. Okay. Well, we didn't expect that. Okay. We'll keep our eye on that, or whatever. Keep our ears open to the fans on that, or whatever. Great. Because again, people need to feel like, hey, their voices are heard. Hey, you're actually listening to me. Hey, you're actually, like, not just like having this stuff be told to you, but you're actually hearing it, and you're actually saying, okay, we hear the fans want this, the fans want that, whatever, you know, or hey, what can we give the fans to get them to be like, that was cool, that was interesting, that was fun, that was this or whatever else, that was, you know, they really told a great story there. And they tell some really great stories sometimes, absolutely. I don't think that we perhaps give them enough credit for some of the things that they do. But again, like, it's never enough. you can bat one out of 1,000, but everyone will focus in on that one. You know what I mean? Where you missed that one. It's like, yeah, but they've batted 99 the rest of the 99. But everyone focuses in on the one where it's like, oh, but they missed there, but they missed here, But that's the thing. People will always do that, where it's like, yeah, they will point out your negatives first, type thing. And that's again where it's like the haterade and whatnot of TNA and that sort of thing, because again, it is like that sort of, I don't know whether it's the impossible task sometimes, but it does feel like that sometimes, where it's like, oh my God, will people give this show a chance, or will they actually pull it together for long enough for it to actually become a thing that people can see the best part in it. And that's the thing. That's what I'm always here for, man. I'm always here for building the thing into being the best thing that it can be, or whatever. The most entertaining, the most interesting, the most whatever. Everything. You need to have that. You need to have people being like, let's tune into TNA this week. They've got a banger show coming along, and such and such is looking for redemption. This person's doing that. This person's da 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 da. Whatever else it is, or there's this mystery and who done it and da 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 and all of this other stuff. So you've got to have those things where it is like, okay, I have reason to tune in, each and every week. Not just there's some good wrestling on. That's great. But people need more than that. I mean, more than just like some good wrestling. You need to be, here's the story. Here's the, the reason to tune in every week. Here's the payoff. You're going to get paid off. You we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to try to deliver. Not just, too bad. We didn't quite make it, or they didn't quite get over. No, that was our fault for not pushing them quickly enough, or not doing enough with them quickly, or not giving them enough of a story, or not showcasing them enough, or showcasing too many other people, or too many other things that we gave time to, but we didn't give this time to. And again, we threw that thing together at the last minute. And maybe again it's because, hey, well, we have to make a show every month and whatever else, and that was like actually damaging our ability to make these things and to make them work, and to figure out, okay, well, how are we gonna do this, or how are we gonna do that, or whatever else it is. But yeah, those are the things that you need to like be working on every time, and always. It's always the same like thing of the basics of building that narrative and building that rapport with your characters and with the audience. You need to let people go out there and be natural and truly connect. If people can't truly connect in the role that they're in, then that's where you need to be like, okay, it's not working. It's not getting over. Why isn't it getting over? Why not? What's wrong with this? Or whatever. You need to be analyzing it and saying, okay, well, let's take a different approach then. Not just like unless of course you're like gonna weave that kind of into the heel turn, or into the whatever, change of whatever you're trying to do. But yeah, like, you can't just sit there and keep saying, oh, well, we're going to keep doing the same thing. We're going to keep... What are you doing? You can't keep doing that. You need to say, okay, this ain't working. This ain't it, chief. Let's change things up. Why isn't it working? Well, who knows exactly. But again, let's change things up. Let's make things different. Let's make things interesting. Let's see where we can go with it in this regard. Let's see where we can go with it in that regard. So there's so many things that you always need to be like working with, and it never ends. It never ends. So like I say, like I would love it, but it would be a lot of work. I would understand that, though. And it's very thankless work, unfortunately. And as I say, like, I do want to give them credit where it is due at times, but it is like, and again, sometimes just trying to compete with football, you can't, or whatever else it is, you can't do it. It's just too hard. But if you notice these things and you see to yourself, well, why is this happening, or whatever, well, you don't have to ask yourself, you shouldn't have to ask yourself that question. You know what I mean? You should already know, oh yeah, well, we aren't doing our job well enough, or whatever. You can't blame the performers for saying, oh, they're not doing their job well enough. No, that obviously that can be true to an extent, but like, it's just the fact of what it is. Hey, we've got some competition, and we can't overcome that. So, we have to deal with the fact that people are tuning out and not tuning into our show, in a sense. But hey, we really shouldn't. We should say, okay, well, how do we make our show the most compelling thing that people have to tune in for? They can't not tune, like, surely they can't not want to tune into this. So you got to have all these things lined up, and you've got to have all these different people and all these different motivations and all these different things going on, so that it's like everyone in this division or in this company feels like they are, the star of their own, Hollywood movie, or they're the anime protagonist, or whatever else it is. They cannot feel like just an ancillary character that is here supporting somebody else, or whatever. Tag teams are a bit different because it is a bit weird, because you are supporting each other, but that needs to be like, this is why we are together. This is why we are a unit. This is how we work together, and that sort of thing. They need to be shown as saying, well, this is why, we're going to be the tag team champions, and this is what motivates us, and this is how, like, we're going to get there, and we are going to get there. We won't give up. We won't give up. Like, we will get there. Will it take 5 years? Will it take 10 years? We're willing to get there, because we're willing to work hard, and we don't care who we've got to face. Even if it's like some of our childhood heroes, or this is more of a babyface one. But again, like, you can do this for a heel sort of thing. I'm here to prove myself, and I don't care who I've got to go through. I will wreck anybody, even the legends, and whatnot. Like, you do it like a heel as well. You can do anything the same way, but a bit different. You've got to say, hey, this is my whatever backstory to a sense and to an extent, and say, okay, well, that, this is what motivates me. This is why I'm motivated for this, or we're just having a bit of fun for now, or whatever else it is. And that's fine too sometimes. But again, that needs to sometimes be like the statement, made, like somebody says, hey, why does this matter, or whatever. This is a bit of fun. There's too much doom and gloom sometimes nowadays, go, and fans will resonate with that to an extent, because, like, they can feel that sometimes, especially nowadays, saying, hey, I want to have a bit of fun. These guys are really fun, so we're going to have a bit of fun, and, I hope, everyone is ready for that, whatever, because that's what we're going to be bringing next week. in Sacramento, whatever. You can even weave it into being like a promo of saying, we're coming to a town near you, things like that. And we're going to bring our blend of fun and shenanigans to your town, which is like, again, like, be the selling point for yeah, and be an ambassador for the company. You want to be taken seriously, or you want to be the next in line, or you want to be, whatever. You've got to be out there. You've got to be doing these podcasts. You've got to be doing these interviews, even though it's like a lot of the interviews and stuff are a lot of the same old sort of thing. You've got to be out there. You've got to be, in people's faces. You've got to be promoting the company. You've got to be trying to get out there and get the butts in the seats. Get those people to tune in on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. Do whatever it takes to, same thing on your Facebook, on your TikTok, on whatever else it is. Be self-promoting of saying, hey, I'll be in Dallas for TNA or whatever this week. Come and see me because I might just win the belt. Lol, no, I'm not actually in the title contention, but I still might win the belt. Lol, just kidding. But whatever, like, you need to have that where it's like people have that motivation to tune in. And like the TNA faithful, you should reward them for fucking being there, especially being there for so long and trudging through the absolute garbage that have been there at times and whatnot. They should be rewarded for friggin' their patience and whatnot of having to put up with like all the stuff and all the ridicule and whatnot that they have had to go through. And they should be given a few great moments and a few great things to be, there. But yeah, obviously people are into some of the people that they are pushing. I'm not just saying that they are only pushing like the people that are like their handpicked like favorites or whatever else it is. But that needs to not be the only thing. You can't just have the one person that is your already handpicked people, even if you don't like other people, like, or you don't think that they're ready. That doesn't matter. You need to be saying, hey, this is a diverse division of, people that have as equal of a chance to win this, title at any point as anyone else, because everyone is vying for, to be that face. So you have as much chance as the next person or whatever else it is. And it's a free-for-all, effectively. You're all trying to get to the next step, So yeah, but anyway, that is it for this one, I think, because I've covered it very, very much, and I've said a lot of the same things again and again, but you notice it now when there's less and less people tuning in, and again, there is obviously that competition, but like, again, at least some people might be tuning in to be like, hey, what's TNA up to this week? And again, like, that's where like having more live shows again motivates people to be like, let's tune in because we don't know the results, and I better see what's happening. Even if you think, oh, well, nothing maybe is going to happen this week, you don't know. Hey, suddenly there's a title match on this week, that got booked or whatever else it is, and now suddenly the title's on the line and it's a live show, and maybe you don't know, hey, well, like with Lay, it was like, oh, even though the spoilers had been out there, like, I hadn't seen that Lay won the title. I hadn't even seen anyone talking about it. So it was like, oh, okay, So that's also another way of, like, people kind of, like, spoiling things or whatever else it is, or whatnot kind of thing. Sometimes it's like, oh, well, I heard somebody talking about it, and I heard them say, hey, such and such wins the belt tonight, or whatever else it is. And I'm like, oh, man, I wish I kind of didn't know that, because, like, I would prefer to be, like, surprised and see it myself, and, get excited and get seared and not know that, hey, such and such is going to win the belt tonight or whatever else it is. You might have that distinct feeling of like, oh, well, maybe she's going to win it tonight or whatever else, because otherwise why have we gone through all of this, stuff and shenanigans and things and whatever else. But again, you might feel like, oh, well, like that's kind of obvious or whatever, well, maybe, but also maybe not. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this one, and I hope that you guys will join me again in another one.